Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Thursday, October 12th, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the City of Bel Air Beach Board of Adjustment hearing. Would we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, would you please call the roll?
Board Member Marv Bean.
Here.
Board Member Carol Conry.
Present.
Board Member Fred Elia.
Here.
Board Member David Gardella.
Here.
Board Member Tony Gatliff.
Here.
Alternate Board Member Gerald Wizawati.
Here.
Vice Chair Jane Mason Goldman.
Here.
Chair Mike Kelly.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Weifler.
Here.
And alternate Board Member Mark Mariano was unable to attend.
Thank you, Patty. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of our September 14, 2023 Board of Adjustment hearing. I'll entertain a motion to approve. So moved. Thank you, Mr. Bean. Second, thank you, Carol. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I'd like anybody in the room who would like to speak tonight to please rise and be sworn in by our city clerk.
Do you solemnly declare or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in these proceedings is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to read the rules and procedures that this board will follow tonight. There's quite a few of them, but it's in a very procedural method that we listen to what the application is, what the variance requests are, and then we as a board vote on them. So I will read the variance requests. Tonight we have 3. So I will read them one at a time, at which point we will receive a staff report from City Manager Weifler. Then we'll ask the applicant to come forward and make a presentation. After we have open discussion with the board and the applicant and with the city manager, we will move on to our mandatory criteria items 1 through 6, which are 6 questions that the applicant has to answer and fill out in order for our board to hear his case or their cases tonight. After each of the 6 questions, we'll vote, and Patty will give us a roll call. After the final criteria question is asked, we will ask for a motion to approve or deny that variance, and again, our city clerk will call the roll. If there's no questions at this point, I'd like to move forward with our first variance request. Request number 23-10, consideration of a variance request at 116 6th Street for Dana Mayo, trustee, and Charlene Mayo, trustee, for the Mayo Living Trust, requesting a variance from Chapter 90, which is our subdivisions chapter. Insofar as practical, a subdivision sideline shall be at right angles to the straight street lines and radial to the curved street lines. An irregular shaped lot shall have at least a 75-foot width at the shortest building line. On curved lots, such dimensions shall apply to the arc measurement. So the request is to allow the minimum lot width along the arc measurement of 10.03 feet shorter than allowed by the city code. Patty, at this point, I'd like to ask you, have we received any correspondence whatsoever on the variances that we're hearing today?
Yes, sir. I did receive 2 emails opposing the variance, and those were sent to the board, and I put them at your seat.
Thank you. Did the board receive the emails?
Yes.
Okay, you got each of them. Thank you very much. Kyle, the floor is yours. We'd like to present our variance information.
Thank you, Chair Kelly. Kyle Riefler, City Manager of Bella Beach. So the applicant turned in a sketch of the proposed lot division they're trying to accomplish through this variance hearing. I sent it to engineer Larry Flutie with Gemini Engineering, and he first reviewed the subdivision, Chapter 90 subdivision, Section 9102 lots, subsection B, where it talks about the minimum lot width at the line, at the shortest building line, it must be a minimum of 75 feet. He determined the proposed lot, which on the sketch is labeled New Lot B, to have a lot width at the shortest building line of 81.03 feet. That does not require a variance per the code, but the first variance that is requested is for the sketch of New Lot A, which is described in the engineering report as parcel area covering Lot A and a portion of Lot 15. That he took the line at the building line and the arc measurement, and that came to 64.97 feet. The code minimum is 75 feet, so as requested in the variance, it is short 10.03 feet. And then you'd like me to cover the other two?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you at this point, so basically the math as we're receiving this variance request, the math for this was done by Larry, our city
Yes.
engineer.
Correct.
Okay. If everybody's got a copy of the engineer's letter, he's put it all together mathematically to see why we're at 10.3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. On board? Okay, now, let's do the second and third because it's all simple.
Okay. So subsection C is the minimum size, and it reads, a residential lot in any development in the city after April 20th, 1990 shall not be smaller than, in area than 10,890 square feet. This subsection shall not limit the right to rebuild on existing platted lots. So when the engineer Larry Flutie reviewed the area of the proposed lot divisions, the new Lot B, which is described as parcel area covering Lot B and a portion of Lot A, came to a total area of 10,840 square feet. And the code minimum states 10,890 square feet. So that lot would need a variance for the 50 square feet it's short in area. And then for the other lot, which is New Lot A on the sketch provided in the application, which the engineer describes as parcel area covering Lot A and a portion of Lot 15, that lot area or parcel area was calculated to be 8,906 square feet, and that is short of the minimum of 10,890 square feet by 1,984 square feet. So that would require a variance for that lot to be short in area of 1,984 square feet.
Thank you. Board, any questions for Kyle? Nope. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to ask any questions of Kyle? Mr. Sofer.
I would ask a question, Kyle. I think I mentioned to you last time we spoke, but we can ask the applicants. Do we know what the plans are for this property? Are they tearing the existing home down and building two, or selling one, building one? Do you know anything about their intent?
I spoke with the applicant's attorney and asked if these variances were granted, would they be demolishing the existing structure on the property? And she did acknowledge that if they get the variance, that was the plan. So and that the client would be willing to agree to a timeline to do so.
Mr. Sofer?
I don't know what your procedure is for each fees. I'm Stan Sofer, I live at 117 Fifth Street. My wife Caroline, has been there 30 years. This is the third time that we've seen an attempt to convert the property into different sections.
Mr. Sofer, would you explain in relationship to this lot where your home is?
Directly behind this property, subject property.
Thank you.
So we abut the property in question.
Thank you.
What I don't know is, city manager mentioned that there was a sketch. I've not seen any sketches, so all I have is what you have sent from the city, reducing size. So I'm looking at numbers, not looking at the overview as to what they're trying to accomplish, other than splitting up a very nice piece of property. But my basic concern is that it's been turned down before because in order to build on two lots, especially the lot that has been described, it'd be like putting a matchbox on stilts. You have many beautiful homes in the 30 years I've been there. We have seen many beautiful homes built. Most of the ones on the water are way over $1 million. Even the ones that are not on the water are close to $1 million. The property that you're talking about here could not come anywhere near that and would be an eyesore to the neighborhood. It would change the density of the community. The community looks good right now. I'd love to see another house on that lot. Wouldn't bother me at all. But to chop it up and make it into two lots, you're going to have a very small piece of property, which would be very foolish to put in there. I don't know if the people intend to live there or just build another house and move back to California, where I believe they're from. I think that would be unfair. Question for you, since we have several other variants in here, do I have to speak on each one?
We'd like to ask you to come back. At this point, with Kyle, as he finishes his report, we're going to hear from the applicant next.
Okay, I'd still like to see the
You're welcome to
sketch
come back.
that was referred to.
Kyle can answer your question while you're at the podium.
The sketches were part of the application, and there's the two sketches. And you can see they're labeled U-Lot A, and the second one is U-Lot B. It shows the calculations.
Stan?
Thank you, Kyle. Board have any more questions for Kyle? Is the applicant present or applicant's representative here? Welcome to come to the podium.
Thank you. Jamie Mayer of the law firm Hill Ward Henderson, 600 Cleveland Street. Sorry, I'll adjust this first.
That's it.
600 Cleveland Street, Suite 800 in Clearwater. I have been sworn and I'm representing the applicant. I think my presentation will probably address the questions that have been asked, but I'm also happy to answer questions, of course, afterwards. I'm going to provide one presentation, if that's all right with the board. I know there's 3 items, but I can
That's
just...
okay. We'd like to do it all
Right.
at once. We'll vote on them individually.
Right, and I can incorporate my statement for the record or anything that needs to be done procedurally.
Thank you.
So this is the subject property. It's the one outlined in red. As you can see, it's an oversized lot. It's almost double the minimum required square footage under the code for a new lot, and it's over double the minimum lot width, the 75-foot minimum. So it's almost twice the size it needs to be. This is the survey of the existing property, and as you can see, it's actually a combination of 2.5 platted lots. So it's all of platted lots A and B of one plat, and half of platted lot 15 of an adjacent plat. So most of the surrounding area has been built out in its platted condition. So if it was platted as a 60-foot lot, it's been built as a 60-foot lot, and that is actually the majority of interior lots, as I'll show you in a moment. But somebody in the chain of record here divvied up and combined and mixed and matched this lot and its neighbor, which is smaller. And so you've got this huge lot. So what we're proposing is to split into 2 regular sized lots, which will actually be a little larger than their kind of comparable lots in the area, but will be smaller by a few, as Mr. Riefler explained, will be smaller than the code would require. And so that's what we need the variance for. So I think just to address the gentleman's question, and I believe that his lot is, if you look at the new lot B, that's the corner lot, his lot, I believe, is directly south of that. We're not proposing to, I think it'd be easier if I showed you that. We're not proposing to basically reestablish this very narrow lot here because we have 30 feet of this lot too. So the division is going to be bigger 2 new lots than the way they were originally platted. I will note that if they had been built the way they were platted, those 2 lots would have been as narrow as you see them right there. But the majority, as you can see, the majority of the lots on this plat are built the way they're platted. They're 6,600 square feet. They're 60 feet in width in the interior. The corner and waterfront lots trend more towards 80, 85, 90, 8,000 or so square feet. And so we're proposing basically a 65-foot, so 5 feet wider than your average interior lot at 8,900 square feet, which is over 2,000 square feet larger than your average interior lot. And we're proposing a new corner lot that is about 80 feet in width and just 50 feet under the minimum code requirement of 10,890. This is again the area you can see most lots have been built the way they were platted. I'll zoom in. This is the, again, you've seen this in the plat, but this is the way the interior lots have been built. Most of them are 60 feet by 110, so a lot smaller than what the code would require today, and a lot smaller, well, a little bit smaller even than what we're proposing. And here are some of those corner and waterfront lots I mentioned where you can see they're a little bigger. And so the new corner lot that we're proposing is a little bit bigger or around the same size as these, which maintains the consistency of the way that the area is platted and the way that it's been built. We find that these do satisfy the variance criteria. You've seen from the aerials, this site is clearly unique relative to the lots around it. It's kind of a Frankenstein lot of 2.5 lots. It's the minimum deviation here to make a reasonable use of the property. Because it was platted, 2.5 lots are there. Ignore the half. The way it was platted, 2 homes would be there if it had been built the way the rest of the neighborhood has been built out. Because those were platted, buildable lots. So it's reasonable and logical to split this into 2 lots. We're still going to have 2 lots that are bigger than the way it was platted. They're just smaller than what the code would require today. This doesn't confer any special privilege on the applicant. It establishes rights that are very similar to what other property owners have. It doesn't change the use. I know that's one of the criteria. It certainly doesn't change it from anything other than single family, and it doesn't change the density because it was platted 2.5 lots, and right now it's 1. The great thing about these new lots is they'll be able to comply with all of the zoning setbacks that apply to lots that are even smaller than them. And I know one of the code requirements is not asking for deviations from stormwater or floodplain management sections of the code, and we're certainly not asking for relief from that. This house, these are a few photos taken during the last storm that we had. This house is old, it's far from flood-proof, and so from that perspective, it would actually provide a clean slate to better further the code in terms of flood-proofing these neighborhoods as we get these storms more and more often. So we respectfully request your consideration of approving these variance requests, and we're here for questions. Thank you.
While you're there, voting board members, any questions for the applicant?
I was curious, the same question I had asked Kyle. What are their intentions to live in one or sell them both? Or?
So the applicant actually lives in Dunedin, so he did buy a house. He's not moving back to California, but he lives in Dunedin. He had bought this home, and he can speak if you prefer to hear from him, but I know he bought this property thinking about living there. There's a tenant there now, but if this variance is approved, yes, he knows he would have to demolish the home, and honestly, he hasn't quite got further than that. I think, if he would like to add more detail, that's about where we landed, because, we would have to get the variance approved before we could do anything.
If the gentleman would like to join you at the podium, he's welcome to.
So if the variance is approved, he doesn't know if he's gonna make that his home site on one of the two lots.
Well, he already has a home, so it won't, I don't want to put words in my client's mouth, but no, he wouldn't make one of those his home site.
Good evening, Dave Mayo. Yes, I'm currently living in Dunedin. I bought a house there. In fact, I'm building a house in Dunedin, so I would not be moving into this lot.
So both of these would be speculation, either
Yes,
spec
there would be
homes
no
or just sell lots?
lots. Yes, we build homes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? We're still working on the first one. Mr. Sulfur, if you care to come back up, we're keeping this rather informal. Come on back and please state whatever information you'd like to provide.
One of the items that talk about density. Right now, just between my house, my property, and the one behind me, which is the one in question, they changed that to 2 properties. Then my house can be changed to 2 properties. Now I don't even need a zoning variance. So you would change density if that happens to 4 from 2. So I'm totally against any changes in that type of situation based on the way the property is configured right now, based on the neighborhood that is out there. I did have one question. The old rules used to be that every homeowner within 100 feet of the subject property, if any change, would be notified. And I noticed there were 13 properties involved. How many notices were sent out?
How do you answer that question?
I don't have that in front of me, but I can go check real
Well,
quick.
that's okay.
But it's within
In general,
200 feet. We do within 200 feet.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, that's even better. So you
Yeah.
must have a bunch. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kyle, I got a question for you, if you don't mind coming back up, since we're on variance number 10 tonight, 23-10. Our city engineer in that list of calculations is showing for this particular case, the variance is only for 10.03, I presume that's square feet.
No, that's linear feet.
Linear?
Yes. Because it's
Okay,
talking about.
along the area where you have to have 75,
Yes.
and we're a hair under 65. Okay? So on the first case that we're going to do, everybody understand that's all that we're looking for. Second case, and again, you're welcome to come back at any time, that's where we're looking for the 1,984 square feet. That's a square footage. That's case number 2311. Larry's got it listed at the bottom of his sheet. 1,984 square feet.
Yeah. So that's at the bottom. So yeah, the way Larry's report is drawn up,
That's fine.
it's just, it's
And
kind
then
of.
the third one is also square footage, 50 square feet, below the minimum code.
Yes.
That's it for now. We'll keep going. Would the applicant would like to come back? There's no time limit here. We're going to vote on them one at a time. We're discussing them all right now.
That's great. I'm used to dealing with 6-10 minute time limits, but I won't take even that
No,
much, I
there's
promise.
we do not have the clock running on you right now.
This is as good a slide as any. So I just want to reiterate the point that density, I think, isn't an issue here. We're not asking for like a future land use map amendment or anything like that that would increase, allow single family to go to 2 family or anything like that. And again, this was platted, lots A and B could have been built. They weren't built that way. Somebody amassed them and split that one lot straight down the middle. I will note your code says the right to rebuild on existing platted lots isn't prohibited. And so we're not reestablishing these platted lots exactly the way that they were, but again, this was my point earlier. this prior lot, you can kind of see the faint line here. That was a very narrow lot the way it was platted. And we're not proposing to reinstate it like that, and I believe this is the gentleman's property. And I could understand a very small house would have to go here, but this corner lot, new lot B, is going to be an 80-foot lot with 10,840 square feet. So it's not going to be, this looks to me like easily a 60-foot lot or less. I'm not sure that this lot could be divvied up the same way as the applicant's lot. Again, he has almost 20,000 square feet. It's huge. It's just 10% under the amount he would need to split it without a variance, because he almost has enough.
So without a variance, he could put, if he chose to demolish that other house, he could put up a castle.
Yes, he could split the lot, record it with the property appraiser, and put up 2 houses, or he could leave it and, yes, put one gigantic house on it, I suppose, but
We're not
That's
asking you
not
for
the
a decision, sir. We're just saying that's an option.
if you want your castle. But no, so again, it's, there easily could have been 2 homes here, is the point. So it's not, changing something that was not intended, because whoever established this plat in 1946, they platted lots A and B, and they platted lot 15, and they platted this lot C. And so these were all meant to be homes, and so it's not asking for something that wasn't intended at the time that this whole neighborhood was established.
Board members?
You mentioned something about both lots would be almost, approved. But the one, and again, this is the next variance, I don't want to confuse the issue, but the next variance request is about 19% below the minimum.
Yes, so the total lot itself, like if you just ignore the division that we're proposing,
Okay.
is about 10% underneath so the code requires 10,890 square feet for a new lot, absent all the plats that have been around for a long time. So if you, multiply that by 2, we're just about 10% under what that number would be. However, in order to maintain consistency and recognize the fact that this is a corner lot, our surveyor allocated more of the square footage available to the corner lot, because as you saw from the plat, the interior lots tend to be smaller and 60 feet, so he's proposing the interior lot to be a little more narrow, like a 65-foot lot, because it would be strange just from the way corner lots are, the way the setbacks that apply are more significant, so you lose a lot of property with the setbacks, and as you saw in the pattern of the area, your corner lots are bigger. So we didn't cut it straight down the middle, because that just wouldn't be really a compatible use and the allocation of the square footage that's available to us.
And that also makes the corner lot more desirable.
Yes, it would, I think there's a 25-foot setback on either frontage, and so I think that's why you see these corner lots are a lot bigger, because you have to build your house, farther in.
And I will just make a note to the board members, on this particular street, the lots are 60, 65 wide. However, on 7th Street, you've got, next block up, you've got 3 properties that are similar to this with, multiple lots with one structure on it, side by side on the south side of 7th. You've got an oversized lot that's nearly 2 lots on the other side of 7th. And then there's even a similar lot on 8th Street.
You've got an oversized lot directly to the west of the applicant's lot. Right now. Aren't they like 90, 80 or 90?
Yes,
They've got 15, 30 feet of lot 15.
yep, they've got the other 30 feet that we can't get it from them. Yes, that's correct. So that's the other one where I was saying somebody obviously owned all of those and split it through lot 15 for whatever reason. They don't have even close to the amount of square feet that we have though. What we have is unusual. Like I said, it's almost double what would be required today, well over double what these lots were platted at if you split it in half.
Ladies and gentlemen, anything to go through before we move on? I want to read one paragraph that's on our application for variance, and for everybody in the audience to understand that these 6 criteria questions that we're going to go through. When you apply for a variance, you would presume that you can get yes answers to all 6 of these. The procedure is if you don't get all yes answers to all 6, and one of them, even any one of them, is voted down, the variance itself is denied. So it is in our rules, it says if the board determines that any one of your answers to the 6 individual criteria questions listed in the application is insufficient in nature and reason to earn a yes vote by a majority of the members that are present at this meeting, your variance request will be denied. It's not a majority rule on 3 or 4 of the 6 or 5 of the 6. It's any one that is denied. The variance is denied. The whole variance is denied. At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the Vice Chair, Jane Goldman, who has more voice than I do tonight. And if you'd be so kind as to read our questions.
I'm happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your participation tonight and your input. We're going to start with the first variance, 2310. And we are going to go through each question. The first question, have you demonstrated that special conditions or unique circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, which are not applicable to other similar structures or buildings in the same zoning district? Yes, is the variance is approved? No, the variance is denied.
Patty?
Mr. Beam?
No.
Are you voting on this? Excuse me, are you voting on this?
Yes.
Oh, I raised my hand earlier after this gentleman.
Would you like to speak?
Absolutely.
You're more than welcome to come in.
Thank you.
Sorry for not recognizing.
Okay, maybe I didn't raise it high enough. Okay, I'm Mr. Baldwin. I live directly across the property.
Sir, would you pull the microphone down because we're recording this?
Okay, well, I'm having the same problem with your microphone. I live directly across the street from him, from that property on 6th Street, on 119 6th Street.
Okay.
And twice I tried to acquire that property, and twice I was denied, not only by the city of LA Beach, but also by the county of Pinellas. I moved to Bel Air Beach in '87 because I thought Bel Air Beach was extra, really special. I think it still is. However, I also disagree with what you did on the previous street. I think our city is starting to become stacked up trailer park. You've got to stack up mobile home one on top of the other because the land is so narrow. Well, he has a beautiful lot. A beautiful home can be built on that lot, far to exceed what he is proposing. Now, I don't care to look at what he's proposing because I know what it's going to look like. So this is going to affect also my property value. I concur with this gentleman here also. He is behind it. I'm facing it. And I totally go against what you're proposing. My fence a few years ago was 1.5 feet off the property line. The city made me relocate that property, that fence. I begged with you people to leave it alone for the time being, and you said no. I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars it cost me to relocate the fence and the landscaping, but I did it. I totally go against what is being suggested here. Because of our city, I think it's going to be a nice eyesore. Already to my left, there's 2 houses that were prefabricated houses. There was some also on Harbor Drive that were prefabricated houses.
You're correct. They came in on cranes.
Right, right. And it doesn't reflect the ambiance of the city. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming tonight. Appreciate your comments. Madam Vice Chair.
We're going to start again on this one. This is variance request 2310. The first question is, have you demonstrated that special conditions or unique circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other similar structures or buildings in the same district?
So a yes vote would be approved.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yes, variance approved, and no, the variance is denied.
Patty?
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
No.
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
No.
Ms. Goldman?
No.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
6 no, 1 yes.
The second question is, have they demonstrated that the variance requested is the minimum variance that would make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure? Yes, variance is approved. No, variance is denied.
Patty?
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
No.
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
No.
Ms. Goldman?
No.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
6 no, 1 yes.
Number 3, have they demonstrated that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this chapter? Yes, is variance approved? No, is variance denied?
Patty?
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
No.
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
No.
Ms. Goldman?
No.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
6 no, 1 yes.
Question number 4 was, they demonstrated that the variance requested does not change the use of the property from the use characteristics mandated for districts 1 and 2 in sections 30-51 and 94-252 and Article 4, Division 3 of this chapter? Yes, variance approved. No, variance denied.
Patty?
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
No.
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
No.
Ms. Goldman?
No.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly, you said yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Question 5.
Better give us a roll.
3 yes, 4 no.
Okay.
Number 5, will comply fully with additional conditions and safeguards which the Board of Adjustment may prescribe, including but not limited to reasonable time limits within which the action for such a variance is required shall commence and or be completed. Yes, variance approved, no variance denied.
Patty?
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
Yes.
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no.
Have they demonstrated that the variance requested does not violate any provision and requirements set forth in Chapter 62 and Chapter 74 of the City Code? Yes equals variance approved, no equals variance denied.
Patty?
Mr. Beam?
No.
Ms. Conry?
No.
Mr. Elia?
No.
Mr. Gardella?
No.
Mr. Gatliff?
No.
Ms. Goldman?
No.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
7 no.
Okay. Someone wants to make a motion?
Would like to have the board make a motion,
I'll make a motion.
please.
All right.
Make a motion to approve or deny variance number 23-10.
So is your motion to approve or to deny?
According to this, it's going to be to deny.
Patty, if I read it right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 denials and 2 approvals. That's not right. There are only 6 questions. 1, 2, 3, 5, 1 approved. Okay. So following our procedures, the motion is to
Deny.
deny.
I'll second the motion.
Patty, call the roll.
Mr. Beam?
The motion is to deny. A yes vote would be to deny, and no vote would be to approve. Okay?
All right, I just want to make sure.
You're a yes vote?
Yes.
Is that correct, Patty?
Yes, sir. Ms. Conry?
Yes.
Mr. Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella?
Yes.
Mr. Gatliff?
Yes.
Ms. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
7 yes.
So variance request number 23-10 is denied. With the applicant's approval, we'll move on to variance request 23-11. It is your decision now. Or, sir, Mr. Mayo, it's entirely up to you. We'll follow the same procedure on the next 2 variances. It's your call.
So this is actually the first jurisdiction I've been in where they separate all the variances out, usually
Right.
just do them all at once. I mean, to me, it seems like you can't really have the others without the one.
That was our question. Is this cumulative? Is this...
Right, I don't think it's, I mean, mathematically, I don't think it's, if one's denied, I don't see how, even if one of the others were approved, it's not, we need all of the components in order to make it work, so.
That is our main question. If
Okay.
you need all of them, our city attorney even asked me that. He said, please ask the applicant, should it come down to a need for the second and third, it is entirely up to you, because he thought you would want us to go through it, but you have a right for us to withdraw that, because you...
Let me just confirm that with my
Sure.
client, but
Take your
I
time.
don't think it would work. We'll just go ahead and withdraw the other 2, please.
Okay. Patty, please, it's recorded already that the applicant's request, they're going to withdraw variance number 23-11 and 23-12. Is that correct, ma'am?
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's any other business before the board, now would be the time to discuss it. Any comments, any questions, any information? Anybody in the audience who'd like to come forward to the podium, Mr. Baldwin, Mr. Sofer, it's entirely up to you.
Basically, I'd like to thank the Board of Adjustments for presenting a very nice opportunity for that individual. I think what you guys did was very honest, above board, and I thank you for it.
While you're there, Mr. Sofer, Mr. Baldwin, if there's one thing this Board of Adjustment is known for, it's compassion and reasonability. We have had variances in the past that may have been excessive and what we call beyond the minimum request for variance, and we worked with the applicant in the room at the time to compromise, if such a compromise could work. In this case, there was 3 set variances, and Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, it appeared that all 3 of them needed to be approved for the footprint they wanted to establish to work.
Correct. That's correct.
So, on tape, that's why we're saying, yes, we would have gone ahead and voted on the second variance and the third variance irregardless of what the decision was going to be if the applicant instructed us to do so.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sofer. Mr. Baldwin, thank you very much.
Well,
Is
I
there-
thank you as well. I think you did a remarkable job.
Thank you, sir. If there's no other business coming before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
It was motioned by 5 people. And second, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We stand adjourned.